Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I have a shop on Etsy called Genevieve Designs at Etsy.com. I just wanted to start with my first video. I wanted to start with some of the more complicated things that I make. I have a bit of a cold too, so excuse the sniffling. And I wanted to kind of walk you through or show you a tutorial how to make these. This started with, I called it a smash a year, which is like a smash book, and there's a signature per month. So you have that plastic sleeve and a pocket, an extra page, a craft sheet, a handmade envelope, and it goes on and on. And there's 12 of these, so each one's for each month, or it could just be a scrapbook. It doesn't have to be. And then I added seam binding and this Marion Smith dangle with the clasp. Easy. This binding is done with this cord by Canvas Corp, and it's tied on the inside of the envelope in here, so you can't see it. So you don't seal this up until you're ready to bind. I'm starting with cereal boxes, so recycled cereal box. I'm going to use some Tim Holtz tissue wrap. And this is the one I used for this book right here. This is almost done. I'm going to finish it up with you guys. But I'm going to start fresh with a new one to show you, start to finish. And I'm going to use this one, which is the dictionary terminology ideology tissue wrap. So I'm going to use that one this time. We'll start with the covers, and then we'll do all the pages and envelopes, and then maybe we'll do the binding on the third part with the beads. I love my beads. Maybe a little dirty, but they're pretty. I love them. Alright, so we're going to start with a cereal box. This one in particular, the spine is almost 2 inches, which this is good for the half of a smash a year, so it's like 6 months. Smash a half a year. Or just a mini scrapbook. So the first thing we want to do is we want to cut this down to size. And I'm using the Ladies Diary Graphic 45. I don't know. Can you see it? Whoop. Because I wanted to have the 6-inch, so I could fold it in half and make the 12-inch, so I could fold it in half and make a 6-inch signature. So I pulled out all the pages I wanted from that. So going from that, so I need to measure how tall I want it to be. So I think I want it to be 8 1/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm going to start with doing the 8 1/4 size. But first I'm going to start with like a straight line. You don't have to use your trimmer for this. You can measure it and cut and all that, but I just think this is a little bit easier. It didn't cut all the way through, but take your scissors and just trim the rest of that off. So now I need to measure to the 8 1/2 or 8 1/4. I think is what I decided. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's 8 1/4. Same thing. Didn't cut all the way through, but that's okay. Okay, so then my pages width are going to be 6 1/4. So I just take this line here that's already there and I line it up to my 6 1/4 and cut. So that's perfectly 6 1/4. And flip it over and do the same thing. 6 1/4, right? So there. Now we have, you know, my beginnings. Alright, the next step is recycling some leftover craft packaging. And the reason I use this is because it makes it stronger, you know, more sturdy. So it doesn't matter if it's crinkled, it just adds to the look of it. And this is also something that Jennibellie has done in detail, in depth of how she does hers, which is cool too, because I really like the whole recycling thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use PVA glue. Oops. I don't know if you can see it or not. You can get this at, most of the time you need to go to an art store or something. Sometimes your craft stores have it. And a foam brush. And I just squirt it. You know, you can be as generous as you want. You also want this piece to be about 2 inches larger than your cereal box. So you can wrap the edges to make it stronger. You take your box and you just kind of smoosh it on there. If you've got some spots that you missed, you just go back. And really, for me, I don't care if it's wrinkled or perfect or smooshed or... Okay. Alright, I like to start with, I don't know if you can see, there we go, trimming my corners back. So they really don't need to all be there. It's just extra bulk. I mean, you can leave it, but it doesn't hurt if you don't have it. Okay, so I like to start with my corners, so I'm going to put a little bit of PVA glue on each corner there. Oops, not enough. And I'm just going to fold it up, just like so. Press it down. The same thing for this side. Oops, kind of bent my corner there. This is some strong paper. You know, sometimes I do go back and add some glue to these little flaps because there's no glue up here. Okay. So then the next thing you want to do is fold up add some more glue and fold up this part. You can add it straight to the edge there. If you want. Or once you fold it up, if there is an edge sticking out, you just pull it back. So then the next step is to get another piece. I'm going to have to trim this down a little bit, I think. And you want to kind of, it's kind of like a liner. So, and it doesn't have to be precise in any fashion. So I'm just going to eyeball it. And it's probably going to be crooked, but that's okay. I'm going to take some off of this end over here. Okay. Oops, it's already starting to stick down. So you just kind of eyeball it. Okay, so it fits. So then you do the same thing. You take your PVA. You don't have that much time to work with it. It kind of likes to grab onto it. So try to get it on there. Push. We're not going to worry about sealing it yet because we still have another layer to go on top, and then we'll seal it after that. It's a little hard to see with my brown craft paper and okay. So, I mean, as you can see, it's not perfect. But so then you gently bend it. I like to go ahead and make sure that it bends nicely. Press down any spots that looks like they're not come out. All right. And there's the start. See, that was easy. Alright, so then you set this aside to dry. I mean, you can continue on from this point. It's not really going to hurt anything. So, but I'm going to let it dry. I've already prepared another one so that we can keep going. Oops, where's my lid to my... Okay, so we're going to let that stand to dry. Alright. So here's my one. It's exactly the same thing. I don't know if it was a Chex box that I used, but it's dry. You can see it's not super stiff. It's not super flimsy. I like it to be a little flexible, especially for something like this. Okay. So for this one, like I said, I use the Tim Holtz Ideology. Is that upside down? No. And I did a green color underneath. Well, since I'm using this Lady's Diary paper, I picked out that green and matched it. But I think I'm going to do the pink for this particular cover. That way I'll have two different ones to put in my shop. So I'm going to pick out the pink, and I'm going to mix that color, unless you already have one already made. But I had this huge chart that I made a long time ago with all my colors, my acrylic colors, and it tells me if you mix certain ones together, this is the color that comes out. It just makes life a little bit easier down the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Light Portrait Pink. This was an acrylic Liquitex color. You don't have to use, you know, artist quality. You can use just regular cheapy paint from the craft store. You know, it doesn't. This has just happened to be what I have. I don't know if you can see. There's the Light Portrait Pink. I'm going to mix it with burnt sienna, and I'm going to use some titanium white, and then I'm also going to add some matte medium to it to make it go further. So, alright, let's start mixing the color here. So I got me a thing of water and a brush, and you want to wet it. When you're messing with acrylics, you want to always use a wet brush usually, unless you're doing a dry brush technique. Okay, so I'm going to start equal parts light portrait pink and burnt sienna. That's about right. And then I'm not going to add the white just yet. I'm going to wait until, I know that's probably too much, but I'm going to wait until I've got a good match. Alright, so we're going to start mixing. And since things dry usually darker than they appear wet, I'm going to add some white. Alright, so now I'm going to add the matte medium. Just going to pour it straight in there. And you don't also have to use this. You can also use Claudine Helmuth's Studio Matte Medium, Multi Matte Medium. This is thicker, so I like to use this for this kind of thing. Alright. Before we start painting the cover, we want to kind of measure out our covering. It's going to go on top of it because we're going to use the paint as a glue. So you want about an inch or two, inch and a half around all sides so you can wrap it. Alright, so that's ready, and we're going to set that aside. It's going to go just like so. Alright, so now I'm just going to glob it on here. Good and wet. Okay, it's good enough. So you just kind of want to place it over it. Maybe make sure that it's not too crooked. You see that white, you see how it's coming through there. Alright, and you just press it. See how it's going to be a good match to that pink. And if you didn't get all the way to your edges, it's okay too, because, you know, we're going to do like a little vintage technique. So, I think we left off right here, and I was showing you that the paint comes through. Right, so you flip it over, and you use some of that oops. You may want to go ahead and trim these corners off too. And you do the same thing, except we're going to be using paint. Go the corners over. Alright, to cover the inside, I have another piece of craft paper. This one wasn't recycled, but you can do the same thing. And you don't even have to do this if you don't want to. Oops. It's really okay. It doesn't really matter. Alright, I like to use a fan brush if I can find it. It's just a 1-inch fan brush, I think, a number 2. And then, I think first I'll start with spreading this. And you take your piece, kind of center it. It's going to grab it pretty fast. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I've seen edges that are lifted up. Just run the brush under there and smooth it down. Right. And then I like to cover the whole thing. Okay. You might want to go through before it dries. Smooth down the inside corners. Or not corners, the seam in there. Okay. And then you want to dry it. It's not 100% dry. Sorry about that. I just got a text from my hubby. Okay. So that's that part. Alright, so we're going to flip it over. And I like to, I think what I'll do is just use a scrap piece of my paper here. I'm going to clean my finger off a little bit. I'd like to take the thicker titanium white. You could use gesso, but I just like the way this looks. And you just kind of rub it along the edges. You see how that gives it a nice vintage feel almost. So see, now your spine is pretty. You open it up. It's got this really cool vintage look to it already. Which way's it up? That way maybe? Yep. So this would be my front cover. Alright, so after you finish doing all the painting that you want to do on the outside of your cover, then you want to seal it again using your fan brush. And this time, oh, you might want to let this dry first. Let's dry it. It doesn't take really a long time to dry, so I'm going to use Clyding Helmuth Multi-Matte Medium, and I'm just going to cover the whole thing. Okay, I think we'll dry this up. I did the same technique. Oh, let me reach across here. Oh, this is an art journal I made for myself, and it's got that same paper, purple, and then the white edges. And it's got the same lining, except I painted it white. And it's just full of mixed media paper, which has turned out to be one of my favorites. And there's the leftover green paint from my other. But anyway, so I've used it on stuff like this, which I love the way this looks and the way it feels. It feels, you know, super nice. And then this one has a different feel to it because it's the tissue paper, starting off with the tissue paper and stamping on it. But once it's sealed, it feels pretty good too. Purple's my favorite color. Alright, so this is almost dry. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe I'll dry it a little more. Alright, and you want to let it dry. I mean, it's still a little tacky when it's, you know, not completely 100% dry. But, so here's the green one. And then this is the one I just did today, the cover, which is the pink. And we're using the Ladies Diary Graphic 45, which I think I've been waiting to try to figure out how to use this, but you see how the colors just go perfectly with it. I don't know if you can or not. So there's the peach, and then there's the green. It's just pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Alright, so I think that's the first video. And then the second video, I think we'll move on to doing the pages and the pockets. And there's a pocket there. And doing the plastic sleeves. And I use all the extra bits because I don't like to throw things in envelopes. Make all the different. So I got 2 more signatures to go into here. I don't know if you can see that. There's 2 more spaces left. And the beads, of course. Beautiful. Right, that's the first video on how to make the recycled journal cover using a cereal box and tissue wrap and craft paper and paint. Of course, you didn't have to use paint at all. You could have just left the craft color underneath there. That's really pretty too. But alright, so if you want to check my shop out, it's Jennibellie Designs at Etsy.com. And stay tuned for the next video, which will be on the pages. Thanks for watching.